Cozy Couch Potatoes.
Hello and welcome, my Cozy Couch Potatoes. This is Spice Jack Studios, The Cozy Couch, and we are continuing with the City of Ember series, The Diamond of Darkhold. We're gonna jump into Chapter 11. Chapter 12 was us learning about the Trog family, I think Chapter 9 was. Chapter 10 was where Doon was bound with materials from his own father's shop when he lived in Ember. And then he was forced to loot other houses in Ember, or as they now call it, Darkhold, with Trog's children and the other boy. So that ended with Doon realizing he had made the same realization as to the world above being harsh, but he decided he would prefer to be up there versus being in a dying city. So with all that, I think we should dive into Chapter 11, The Shepherd. As soon as she'd waved at Doon and the lights had gone out again, Lina started on her return journey. The first task was to find her way out through the unknown regions to the place where the path led up along the cave wall. Using her third match, she lit a candle and went back through Ember the way she'd come, repeating to herself in reverse order the names of the streets she'd traveled. And in a few minutes she found herself once again on the corner where the white rocking chair stood. That chair, she thought, must be there on purpose. It must be here to mark the place where you go out. So she ventured forward, stepping from the paved street onto the bare pebble-strewn ground. She moved slowly, keeping her eyes on the circle of candlelight beneath her feet. There was no way to know if she was walking toward the bottom of the path. She would just have to hope that if she went directly away from the city, she would come to it. She put one foot ahead of the other, feeling as if she had to push back a wall of darkness with every step. An empty can appeared just in front of her right foot, and she kicked it without meaning to. Startled, she stopped. When she moved her candle a bit to the right, she saw another empty can lying on its side. She remembered, on the way in, they'd seen cans and broken jars. She'd thought they were litter, but what if they were markers? What if those people who had taken over the city had put them here so they could find their way to the path? It made sense. She began to look for them. Soon she saw that each bit of junk was just a few steps beyond the last. Every time she came to one, if she took 4 or 5 steps beyond it, she would see the next. In this way, she arrived after a while at the spot she dreaded most, the plank bridge that crossed the chasm. She stood for quite a while just looking at it, the 2 splintery boards reaching out into the dark and the ghastly drop below. I can't do it, she thought. I have to turn around and go back and try to rescue Doon some other way. But there was no other way. She knew that. She would have to reach into herself and find the courage to cross that bridge. It must be there somewhere. She closed her eyes, felt her heart beating, felt her feet planted firmly on the rocky ground. She tried to find her best self and she remembered. She was fast. She was sure-footed. These narrow boards would be nothing to her if they lay across the stream, or even stretched from the roof of one building to the roof of another. It wasn't the bridge that scared her. It was what lay beneath. She would have to block the pit of bones from her mind and be her messenger self again, stopping at nothing to make an urgent delivery. She took a long breath, gripped her candle, fixed her eyes on the boards, and stepped onto them. Without pausing for even a second, she sped across the pit with a swift, steady stride. When she reached the other bank, she ran a few steps and then stopped, breathed again, and waited while her heart crashed around in her chest and her whole body trembled. Then she went on her way, and before too long she came to the place where the path began to slope upward along the cave wall. It was a lonely, frightening walk, but almost easy compared to getting across the pit. Halfway up, when she was so high that she was once more looking down at the spot of fire glowing in the center of the city, her candle burned low and grew too warm to hold. She jammed it into a crack in the rocky wall beside her, and with shaky hands she pulled another candle from her pack and held its wick to the flame. Here, on this uneven ledge, with a steep drop inches away, she did not want to be left in total darkness, even for a moment. The climb seemed endless. Her legs began to ache, and the sound of her own hard breathing filled her ears. All the way, the image of Doon captured and tied up stayed with her. A terrible picture burned into her mind. She should have paid attention to her bad feeling about coming here. It was a mistake. A dreadful mistake. But there was no point in thinking about that now. She was coming to the top of the path at last. She could tell by how far above the spot of light she was, and sure enough, a few more steps and she found herself on the ledge, with the entrance to the passage on her right. She sidled through and came out into the clean, cold air of the upper world. The sun, low and red in the sky, blinded her for a moment. She could tell that it was late afternoon, maybe 4 o'clock or even later. Not much daylight was left. Could she find her way back to Sparks in the dark? She couldn't bear leaving Doon a prisoner for a second longer than she had to. She imagined how desperate he must be feeling. He wouldn't even know if she'd got safely out of the cave. He might think she'd fallen into the pit or slipped off the edge of the path on the way up. She had to hurry. So she retrieved the rolled up blankets and supplies they'd left between the rocks and stuffed them into her pack. She began to walk, heading down around the mountain the way they'd come. She'd gone no more than 20 steps when exhaustion washed over her like a wave. Her legs wobbled. Her head felt heavy. There was no way around it. She would have to rest before she could go on. She staggered a little farther and made it to the main cave entrance. Inside, she threw a blanket on the ground, flopped down upon it, and went instantly to sleep. When she awoke, the daylight was nearly gone, and somewhere not far away, someone was shouting. Lina scrambled to her feet, snatched up the blanket, and hurried out into the open. There, she saw a startling sight. A tented wagon drawn by a scrawny horse. Beside it walked some sheep and a shepherd who Lina recognized right away. It was the roamer who had come to Sparks. "Hey!" the shepherd shouted, starting toward Lina, coming through the flock of sheep, poking them out of the way with her long stick. The sheep bleated and sidestepped nervously. Lina ran forward. "Please help me," she cried. "I have to get home. I have to hurry." In a rush, the awfulness of her situation came over her. Doon, a prisoner, the sun going down, the long walk ahead. Her heart began to hammer. The shepherd came closer. Her eyes were a watery blue in the red of her face, and her nose showed a network of fine red lines. "Are you lost? Are you a runaway?" She tilted her head and peered hard at Lina. "Haven't I seen you before?" "Yes," said Lina. "I saw you in Sparks, where I live. That's where I'm going. I have to get there tonight." The shepherd poked her stick at the rear end of a sheep that had separated itself from the rest. "Get back here, you filthy fluffball," she yelled. Then she pointed the stick at Lina. You, she said, are a foolish child. You can't possibly get there tonight. What are you doing up here anyhow, so far from home? The words spilled out of Lina in a rush. We came to our old city looking for things, but there are people living there, and they captured Doon. I have to get help for him. Your old city? Said the shepherd. Yes, underground. Lina's voice was shaking. Awful people have taken it over. Captured your friend, you say? Yes, tied him up. The shepherd crooked a corner of her mouth and shook her head. Up to his mischief, she muttered. Before Lina could ask what she meant, the shepherd turned away abruptly. One of her sheep was wandering off. She strode after it and gave it a whack with her stick to steer it back toward the flock. Move, Fuzzface! She yelled at it, and the sheep put its head down in a sorrowful way and trotted toward its companions. Lina felt more and more desperate. How could she get this woman to help her? She saw that lanterns hung from the front and back of her wagon. There was even a lantern dangling from the side of the horse, so maybe the shepherd could travel at night. Besides, she'd been to Sparks before. She knew how to get there. Could I go with you? Lina called, running after the shepherd, who was still dealing with the wayward sheep. Could you take me back to Sparks tonight? I don't travel at night. But you could, Lina said. You have lanterns. You know the way. I could, said the shepherd, but I don't want to. Too hard and too dangerous. Wolves out there, you know. I heard them howling just a little while ago. Besides, it's going to rain. She tilted her head toward the clouds at the horizon. Anyhow, I'm not going that direction. I'm heading due south tomorrow. Just made my last delivery. She thumped her stick on the ground. He can get his own after this, she said. Mags is quitting. Quitting what? Mags, Lina assumed, must be the shepherd's name. Quitting this job of food finder. I'm sick of it. It's cold and miserable up here, and nobody in the towns has anything to trade with, and I'm through. Lina was confused. Finding food for who? The shepherd flung her arms up in the air, and her raggedy sleeves flapped in the wind. My brother, king of the underground, she cried. That's what he's made himself, and I'm supposed to drop down supplies for a few months and then go down there and join them. Well, I've decided I don't want to, especially if he's taken to kidnapping people. She shouted at her flock again, which had drifted away. Scurvy beasts! Wretched meat brains! Get back here! She flailed her stick at them. The horse lowered its head and ripped up a mouthful of grass. You mean... Lina's figuring it out. You mean, said Lina, putting all of this together, that's your brother down there? That awful man? He's not that awful, Mag said. He's gotten too high and mighty is the problem. Too set on having his perfect little world all for himself. You know what's interesting? Trog talks about saving his family from that fire. He didn't mention anything about his sister. Lina was paying attention now. How do you deliver food to him? Just drop it down, said Mags, gesturing behind her in the direction of the crack in the mountainside. You may not know this, she said, but I am a kind and caring person. If I could, I would let my brother know he's just had his last delivery, and he's on his own now. But if you think I'm going down into that dark cave to tell him, you can think again. Why didn't you write him a message, Lina asked, when you made the delivery? Write? Said Mags. I don't write. You mean you don't know how? The shepherd shrugged and scowled. Never wanted to, she said. An idea began to form in Lina's mind. I could help you, she said. If you take me back towards Sparks tonight, even just part of the way, I would write a message for you to send to your brother. No point in that, Mag said. He can't read. Of course. The wind turned colder and rustled the leaves of the trees. The red light in the west faded to a dusty orange, streaked with dark purple clouds. Lina thought fast. I could draw the message, she said. I told you, said Mags, I don't travel at night. But it isn't quite night yet, Lina said. We could go at least a little way. Not very far, said Mags. Please, said Lina. I'll draw a really good message for your brother. Watch, I'll do it. Lina pulled her pencil stub and a scrap of paper from her pack. I need something flat to draw on, she said. Mags unhooked a bucket that hung from the from the side of her wagon and turned it upside down. Lina drew this. The picture, as I just showed you, shows the little sheep person with her stick and her sheep, and her waving and the horsey, and cave. And it says, Doon, out safely, heading home to Sparks. L. You put words on it, Mag said. I told you he can't read. Oh, said Lina, I forgot. Well, it doesn't matter. The drawing is clear without them. What do they say? The shepherd asked. They say, Brother, I'm quitting. Get your own food. M. Mags put a finger on the last letter. That isn't M, she said. I know M when I see it. Oh, oops, Lina said. I wrote it wrong. She added a big M right next to the L, thankful her last name was Mayfleet. Now, she said, all you have to do is wrap it in a rag and put a rock with it and throw it down where you dropped your supplies. Mags reached for the message, but Lina pulled it back. You have to promise to take me home, she said. Sorry, said Mags. The answer is no. I'm not going your direction anyway. I'm heading south. You need to go southwest. Oh, please, Lina said. It's so important. Can't do it, said Mags. I'll tell you what, though. What? You can walk with me until it's dark, and then camp with me tonight. Sleep in the wagon out of the rain. But that will take me the wrong direction, out of the way. Not far, said Mags. It won't be more than half an hour before it's dark, and we have to stop. It was so terribly frustrating. Lina wanted to go, to travel right now, but it was just not possible unless she wanted to risk never getting home at all. She would have to accept Mag's offer, even though it would take her out of the way and she'd need to backtrack some in the morning. All right, she said. She held out her drawing, but just as Mag's hand reached for it, she snatched it back again. Another idea had struck her. Only her panic had kept her from thinking of it before. That book, she said. That book you sold to my friend Doon. I'll give you my drawing if you tell me where you found it. Mag shrugged. Sure, she said. No reason not to, if you already know about the underground city. Give me the message, and then I'll show you the place. That's interesting. Lina handed it over. The shepherd went to the back of her wagon and burrowed around inside. Lina could hear her humming, and now and then the hum became a song with a few mumbly words. It was the same tune Mags had been humming the first day she came to Sparks, the tune Lina had recognized from somewhere. What was it? When Mags emerged carrying a greasy rag, Lina asked her. Oh, an old song that lots of roamers know, Mags said. It used to be a sort of riddle, but it isn't anymore. Not to me. Will you sing it for me? Lina said. In her croaky voice, Mags sang, There's buried treasure in the ancient city. Remember, remember from times of old. What's hidden will come to light again. A diamond jewel more precious than gold. Mags grinned. The reason it's not a mystery is we found the city. Me and my family. And we found the diamond too. Love you, Mags. Love you. Giving information away. Ha! So the riddle's solved. She tied up Lina's message in her rag along with a rock. I'll go toss it down, she said. She handed Lina her stick. You keep an eye on these woolies. Don't let them stray. Lina watched as she trudged up the mountainside toward the crack in the wall. She pondered the song. It was the one she'd heard from the roamer on the way back from her journey to the ruined city during the summer. The same song, and yet something was different about the way Mag sang it. The words weren't exactly the same, were they? Lina couldn't remember, but she was too cold and tired to think about it now. She crossed her arms over her chest, hugging herself against the wind, which was gaining force. If I'm lucky, she thought, Doon will see that message and know that help is coming, and I'll know where Mags found the book that got us into all this trouble. Alright, my cozy couch potatoes, that is it for chapter 11. We got some interesting information in that one, and I can't wait to dive into chapter 12 with you tonight. Can't wait to dive into chapter 12 with you next time. The chapter 12 is titled Feast Night, so that is interesting. I assume it has to go back to Doon, since Lina won't be in Sparks yet. Alright, well that's all I have for you this time, my cozy couch potatoes. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye. Lina started on her return journey. Turn it down.